a core part of our work here. Let me just back up and do this. One of the versions of our vision, we have some internal vision and some external vision. You've seen the external vision on the program, I believe, at the very bottom of the page. We're a strong, open, globally connected community. Our internal vision is more about how we see ourselves rather than what we're telling you who we are. And in our internal vision, we see ourselves as a widely recognized as an intergenerational, spiritually led community that helps one discover how to attain your personal potential, embrace and manage change, create a more meaningful life, and achieve success and fulfillment. That's how we see ourselves. That's what we're about here. So in service to that, one of the things that we offer is work and opportunities for growth through our spiritual mind practitioners, or our religious science practitioners, I guess is the more correct term. And a practitioner is someone who studied this teaching, who studied the principles, who understands the love and the law of life and how it works, and can bring about growth and change for themselves and for other people. So they're able to work with you and for you. And our practitioners are a core foundational part of who we are and what we're about. So each week I ask one of them to come forward and share with you a little about their life, or a story, or a reading, or something that's touched them, and then guide us in an affirmative prayer or spiritual mind treatment. So today, the wonderful Judy Ailey will share with us and lead a treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Great to see everybody. Well, I noticed on Facebook this morning that Mercury is no longer in retrograde. Ooh, whatever that means. I don't really buy into all that, but I do feel like we are into the Christmas season. Does anybody else feel it? The intensity of the traffic this weekend, just during the day, people shopping, and then I think there are office parties like Friday night, and people were having parties in their homes last night. We drove through several neighborhoods. You could hardly get through. There were so many cars on the sides of the road. And there's just an intensity to it all that I'm determined not to participate in this year, me. That, when you really boil it all down, the real reason for all of this, my husband said to me, why are people they go crazy? The real reason for all of this and the basis of it is really love. And so that's what I want to celebrate this season, is love. And so here's what Ernest Holmes has to say about love. And this was in the readings from this week. Love is the central flame of the universe, the very fire itself. It is written that God is love, and that we are expressed likenesses of that love, the image of the eternal being. Love is self-givingness through creation and impartation of the divine through the human. Love is an essence. It's an atmosphere which defies analysis, as does life itself. It is that which is and cannot be explained. It is common to all people, to animal life, and evident in the response of plants to those who love them. Love reigns supreme over all. The essence of love, while elusive, pervades everything. It fires the heart, stimulates the emotions, renews the soul, and proclaims the spirit. Only love knows love, and love knows only love. Words cannot express the depths of meaning. A universal sense alone bears witness to the divine fact that God is love and that love is God. And this is the bottom line of the energy of life for me. So with that in mind, I want to lead us in a spiritual mind treatment today. So if you'll just get yourself kind of comfortable in your seat and take a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths. And I want us to just have our sense and know the sense of oneness with this presence. And I'm going to do these words in the first person. I'll use I, but please accept this for yourself. as I sit or as I'm standing and you're sitting, as I am here in this place, I sense my oneness with this presence and this power of life and of love. This presence and love, this energy of life itself is everywhere. And I sense it deep within my heart. I know that at the heart level, that there is a perfection, a purity, a wholeness, a completeness. At that spiritual level, I am this presence, I am this power, I am this perfection. And as I know that at the heart level for myself, that this perfection and this goodness outpictures in my life. It pictures in my life as vibrant energy and health. My body is a reflection of this sense of wholeness and this belief and this knowingness of my goodness and my wholeness at the heart level. I know that my body reflects this in every way, that I have a body that is full of life and vigor, that is constantly renewing itself, that it looks great, it moves easily, it's full of energy, that it's attracted to the food that it needs to function at its optimal level. So I just know that all is well. And I also know that this divine wholeness outpictures in my life as opulent abundance, that this is a truth of who I am. And as I embrace it more deeply and fully at the heart level, that my life is a picture of great opulence in every way, that I have all the money that I need, that I have the opportunities that I need, that I just look around in the world and I see great opulence everywhere I look. I know that my life is an expression of love in every sense of that word, that this divine love that we speak is almost beyond words. It is the energy of life itself. So I know that my life expresses love everywhere I turn, through my interactions with other people, through my interactions with my family and my friends, in my workplace. And I also know that this divine presence, that through this divine presence that I tap into ultimate creativity and new ideas, that I open my mind to this, and I'm filled with new ways of seeing the world, new ways of seeing life. I know that today's celebration is a fabulous success, that I hear something that moves me in a new way in my life, that pushes me forward, that allows me to express my spiritual wholeness, my spiritual perfection in a new and more vibrant way. I turn away from any idea of separation from this presence and this power. I know that it is only one. There is only wholeness, so it's never divided against itself. It is all good, and that this power is a great presence for good in the world. It's really the only presence that there is. So I just embrace this now. I know that this is the truth of who I am. I take this and these words with me throughout my day, and I touch back to know my wholeness and my completeness as a spiritual being. So I release this now with great thanksgiving. I know that it is so, and so it is. All right. Well, somewhere up here, I have, oh, here it is. Okay, so guess what? We have a digital music presentation today. So I hope you'll relax and just enjoy this. Today, it is the theme song from the Polar Express. The song is Believe, and it's performed by Peter Hollins and the One Voice Children's Choir.
Anybody else get a little moist with that video? Makes me think of when I was a kid and how simple and you believed it. And on Christmas morning, there it was. And here we are in the holiday season where these kinds of things are come back to us. We talked a good bit last week about that juxtaposition of that early kind of expectation and then some of the realities that come into life at the same time that get in the way of that. But today I want us to go a little bit more back to that Christmas feeling, that waking up and finding the magic of all of life, not just on Christmas Day, but on throughout, because it's always here, it's always present. That having it all because of what you believe, and because of what you can find in your heart and in your mind and your thoughts to create for yourself. It's all here. It's always here. So in line of that, I have a question for you, and it may seem a little off from what I'm talking about, but it isn't. And that is, what brought you here? What brought you into this teaching or a center like this or a place like this? You may say, well, my mom would say, my son made me come. Or your kids might say, my mom made me come. Or you might say somebody else encouraged and forced you. But past that kind of thing, what is it that really had you feeling like maybe there's a reason to be here on a Sunday in this kind of a setting with this kind of a message? What we know to be true is that most people are driven here by usually a crisis, a problem, or something of that sort. Now, many aren't, but many are. I had quite a bit of crisis going on in my life, and as part of my healing from that crisis, someone said, you got to go to another kind of spiritual program. And I went, no, I don't want to ever go back to church. So they sent me to this really weird church where they didn't sing, and they had a speaker, and he was funny, and yet there was something in it that I felt something real and solid, and I stayed around. And that was the Atlanta church a few years ago now. And many people, though, are driven to this idea and this feeling and this looking for something better in their lives by a crisis or by their pain. The pain of life, the pain of living in the world today, the pain of struggles with things like financials or with relationships crashing or having difficulties there, or the pain of a job that you don't love, or the pain of an opportunity missed, or a sense of some kind of time is going faster than you are, and all kinds of reasons that people come in through these doors the first time. Maybe a health challenge, and I hear there's something good that might happen in terms of my health. And then there are people on the other extreme, and they find us because they have a vision of a better life for themselves. They have a vision of a better way of living, and they hear and they know, and there's something about this teaching that they know may help with that, that can feed that. Nowadays, they may have seen it on Oprah or wherever, YouTube or Facebook or the internet, or seen this on YouTube. I mean, you see things all over the place now. A few years ago, centers like this were the only place you could get this message. Now it's everywhere. And people come into this community to be part of a community to support them in finding and further expressing that vision. Now maybe you're somewhere in between that. And maybe what brought you here today is somewhere very different than what brought you here the first day. And that's okay too. That's all good. There's also that in-between place. This sort of the blah people. You ever have that? You're like, oh God, another day. Let's see, how am I going to do something today? Let's see, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to get up, I'm going to drive to work the same old way, I'm going to talk to the same people, I'm going to be, what is that all there is? One of my favorite songs from a long time ago when I felt much more melancholy. that all there is? Is that all there is? So those folks, they get here too, but they don't stay there. One of the things about walking through these doors and getting involved with these ideas is nobody stays where you were when you got here. And those in-between blah people either create a crisis for themselves in order to get moving, and if they don't come here, often the blahness, the everydayness, the sameness ends up creating pain or creating a crisis because the universe never stops. We're on a planet that's zooming through space at amazing speeds, always changing, always moving to a different vibration as we're moving through a different place in the entire solar system and the entire universe. So you can't stay in one place. So you can't be in that in-between forever, because you'll slide off one side or the other. You'll either catch a vision or you'll catch a crisis. And then people start reaching out for something else and something different. I'm seeing some faces that tell me you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. Michael Beckwith, who's the minister at Agape, which is a CSL center that is no longer a CSL center, but teaches basically the same ideas, says that, I think he said it first, he takes credit for it. Today Bob's saying it, so I'll take credit for it. We are pushed by our pain until we're pulled by our vision. And I think that's really, really true. That the pain we have, the struggles we have, will push us towards something better, will push us towards something until there's a tipping point where we're no longer pushed by that. Instead, we have a vision of something greater for ourselves, something greater for the world, something greater for life, and we're pulled toward that. And that's where we go. Ernest Holmes said that with a penetrating vision, you can dissipate the obstructions, you can remove the obstacles, and dissolve the wrong conditions. Interesting. With a penetrating vision. Some people have a vision early on in life. They know exactly who they are and what they want to become. I have a good friend, beloved friend, when she was 9 years old, knew, because she watched her sister being cared for by nurses, that's what she wanted to be, and that's who she was. That her nature was such that caring for people and guiding people through health issues was her thing. It was her identity, it was herself. And she never wavered for her whole life. She's in her 70s now. Never wavered from that vision. She got education and more education. She went and worked in different places. She did it in lots of different settings in different ways. But that vision drove her forward and penetrated through anything that would say, no, you can't, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, none of that. She just wouldn't hear it. She ain't even part of it. She knew. She went there. I, on the other hand, had a kind of wandering vision from childhood. I was never quite sure where I was going and what I was doing next, and had a great deal of adventure. I did have a vision of adventure, and I've had that really well, and a vision of change, and that has occurred beautifully as well. So how does this work? How is it that a vision can push us through and penetrate through these obstacles, these obstructions, these conditions? And a condition, is just an event, a happening in your life. We are in a certain condition at all times. And sometimes that is really in line with who we are, and sometimes it isn't. You ever find yourself saying, this is just not me. This doesn't feel like me. What's happening to me right now it doesn't match. So a vision, a penetrating, clear vision, can help move you past all of that. Because what it does is it penetrates past the appearances, the surface of who you are, into that depth of who you truly are. We say this a lot around here. Who are you really? Who are you really? You're an expression, an individualized version of the divine. Now, that sounds real heady and really nice. But when you stop and think about it a little deeper, that part within you that is so precious and so clear and so knows exactly what you want, whether you're living it at any given time or not, that part of you is the divine itself having an expression, of itself. You're not just some individual that's going to go through 70, 80, 90, 120 years on the planet and then leave and die and it all goes to dust. You are a spiritual being that has been around for eons and will continue on beyond this, according to my belief. So this is just one little chapter in a huge and long, wonderful life, expressing greater and greater and more and more. So when you tap into, in this life, at this time, fully grounded in who you are, you tap into that vision of yourself as more than any appearance yet. You're more than everything you've ever learned. You're more than everything you've ever done. You're more than anything you've ever thought of yourself yet to be. And that pushing from within to be more, that's what the divine vision does. And it just pushes obstacles aside. Because see, as you get more clear about the vision of who you are, then your beliefs start to align with that vision. You start to line up. If you know yourself to be a divine being who has absolute freedom, isn't that a cool idea? What if you really believe you have absolute freedom? Would you get up and go to the same job tomorrow? Would you say things like, well, I can't afford that. I just don't have, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny. All those things we say that imply limits, which are limits in the condition, but have nothing to do with what's underneath and behind it. We are light beings. We are spirits. So how do I get that kind of vision? If I didn't get it zapped to me when I was a kid at some point, it's really, really simple. You ask. One of the things someone told me about this teaching whenever I first got into it is that the cool thing about the Science of Mind textbook and all of the materials we use is the answer's in the back of the book. You don't have to go anywhere and get anything special. It's just right here. You just ask. Because you have within you the power to create whatever you choose to create. And when you ask of yourself, show me the vision, show me who I am. And then stop long enough to listen. That's my challenge. Shut this off, shut my mouth off, turn off TV, and listen. We're in the time of the seasons of the year now where we are being pulled into more listening, into a quieter time, a quieter space. Our bodies are responding accordingly. So listen, and keep listening, and stay awake. We're so invited in our culture today to be lulled into sleep, to think about who and what we hear and what we say and what we do as if something out there is in control of everything. So we can create intentions. We set an intention. I want to know the real vision for myself, for my life right now. 2020 vision. I know that I have that vision within me. Something in me knows. I can affirm that. I can stand with that. I can do treatment about that. Or spiritual mind treatment, or affirmative prayer. There's only one power, one God, one light, one life. And it is expressing as me. And it reveals to me at this moment the truth of who I am and what my personal, individual vision is right now as I step into my next life, my next moment, my next day. You see, all of that is good. It all helps. But finally and ultimately, though, you can't make a vision. You can't create a vision. Now, I know corporations do it all the time. Let's get together and let's create a vision. We have a vision statement. And then everybody goes, yay, rah, we're going to do that. Or else they forget about it for God knows how long until somebody reminds them, we were supposed to do, oh, yeah, that's right, we have this vision. And some places don't. Some places really live by those words and methods. But that's not exactly the vision I'm talking about. The vision I'm talking about is the one you catch and catches you. Where you just kind of get, whoa, that's it. When I was in college and I was working as doing teaching and traveling in another faith group, I was standing one Sunday singing, doing a performance at a little church in the middle of Kansas, away from everything and everybody. And as right in the smack in the middle of the song, it was like a vision caught me of where my career was to go from there on. Not singing, not just singing, but speaking and teaching and other kinds of things. And it was to happen in that way out in the middle of nowhere Kansas place, which seemed to me to be really ridiculous. I had put in a bid with the organization to go to Hawaii, and they sent me to Kansas. So I was kind of like, what? Wasn't what I planned. But when the vision grabbed me, there was no question about it. And the people in the audience said, we don't know what happened to you halfway through that, but something changed. Yeah, I did. Because when the vision caught me, it was like a whole other kind of way of being and knowing about myself that had no questions, had nothing to push against it. The obstacles were gone. The obstructions were set aside. And I don't know if I sang any better or not, but I got through it without completely falling apart. It was rich and it was wonderful. When I was a kid, I had the same thing. I knew from soon after my father passed away, and I saw the transformation in his life that came when he became involved in a God idea and believed that it affected him, and he had a part in it and was absolutely transformed. And then died shortly after that. And I was determined. I knew from that moment on, I had to understand life in the perspective of the biggest possible picture possible. What is this thing called God, and how do we work with it? That vision grabbed me. Now, I believe that all of us have had those. We may not be conscious of them. They may not show up in a way like mine did, where you're singing and you have to splutter and blubber and get through it. But it may be as simple as that thing inside that you always known you need to do, you want to be who you are. Or even that unconscious thing you keep returning to. Again and again and again. There's a part of that really, one of the things they told us, Kennedy and others in ministerial training for this organization said, if you can go do anything else but be a minister, please go do it and don't bother us. Because this is too hard a deal, and it's too big a deal to have people in it who are only halfway committed to it. So if there's something else you find your heart pulling you to, there's something else you want to be or do, go do it and leave us alone. Well, over the years of my career, I've tried to go do it in other ways and other places. And I always get pulled back. I took a year off once and went and worked at the Grand Canyon for a while. Actually, I was just walking around the world, following my car wherever it took me that next week, and just kind of living off myself and the land and my smarts and my wits. And I had been a minister in a church and was taking a sabbatical. And I got to the Grand Canyon and was there for a while and was really debating this question: do I really want to continue to teach and do this, or do I want to do something else altogether? And I was working there as a maitre d' at the steakhouse. So I had the joy of standing in the front looking at the sunset into the Grand Canyon every night while people came and went. I got to meet people from all over the world. Great crazy stories about crazy tourists. And then about halfway through that time there, this kid, 20 years old, from Yugoslavia, who was there on a special visa thing, said, I just know the universe has something more for me. And he was also working in the restaurant I ran. And I said, what do you mean? And he talked a little more. He had this whole metaphysical idea of life. And I said, I used to teach that stuff. Let's talk. And we did. That night after work, sitting on the rim of the Grand Canyon. And by the end of that week, we had 28 kids out there, young adults, and me, talking about life, spirituality, metaphysics. We got trash cans. We stole trash cans out of the rooms and made drums and hid off down on the edge of the side of the Grand Canyon where the security couldn't find us, and we'd drum at night, and we just did all kinds of wonderful things. couldn't not do this because it's what we're called to. There is something in you that has that same power. There are artists in this room. You know what I'm talking about. That urge to create, that urge to do something that you just have to do. And you can try to avoid it, you can walk away from it, but it pulls you back. Now, the pulling you back is not some kind of punishment. The pulling you back is an opportunity to be and to flourish and be who you are. And the resistance often is just silliness. It was for me. I needed a vacation, so I got one, and it was great. And I came back to doing this. So find that thing within you that calls to you, that says, hey, this is who you are. It whispers to you at night. You dream about it. You think about it anytime you're feeling cramped and closed in and not allowed to be and do who you think you are. Sometimes we find it in the negative. We see it in the crisis, as well as we're pulled to it once we envision it and get to know it. So my notes say at this point, insert a really inspirational story. So, I don't have one, but you do. You be the inspirational story for yourself. Because what you envision for yourself, what you imagine as possible for yourself, that's doable. You live in a universe that creates amazing things. Planets and stars that hurl through space at crazy speeds and we don't even feel it. If you felt how fast we're going, all of us would be holding on to our seats if we could even get a hold of our seats. You know? A universe that has so much power in it that, you know, a molecule or two, when released, uncontrolled, will destroy large areas. That same power is available to us to create our stories, to create our lives, to create that which we want to become, that which we are. We just have to say yes. The universe is, spirit is, life is, spiritual law, love, all of that is saying yes, yes, yes. That's why it's such a challenge when you say some things that aren't so positive about yourself, because it all still says yes. We're not worried about that right now. So I invite you, I encourage you to spend some time now in this season with yourself. What is my vision? What is calling me to get up in the morning and be different, or do something differently, or find joy, or find happiness, or find freedom? What do I love? And love no matter what. You know, I got grandkids. I love those guys no matter what. No matter what they do or don't do, no matter what they think or don't think. You know what I'm talking about. You got things in your life like that. I love this teaching that way. And I'm amazed at how easily I can turn myself completely back upright just by reading a little bit or looking at a few sentences that brings me fully back online. Find that vision for yourself. Ask for it. Listen for it. Watch for it. Because it's trying to show itself to you. Because you're wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And so am I. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Nice breath. So, here's what else is true. That we are a wonderful center. We are a prospering center. And you have an opportunity now to participate in that prosperity by contributions and giving to who and what we are, by making this place, paying the rent and paying the light bills and making sure everything gets done so that we are here week after week after week, because we are here and we will be here in Midtown teaching this teaching as long as there's breath available to do it. And after there's breath, it'll show up somewhere else. So I invite you to participate in that, to give until it feels good, and to enjoy. Keep us in mind with your end-of-year giving, those of you who do that. We are always in a receptive mood, as I like to say. So thank you.